Okay, so what we want to do is we actually want to review this day, which is July 2nd. And for those of you that already have a subscription to Prediction Points, you can look at your own charts. You'll have these exact same prices. Now you're going to notice some dotted lines. Just ignore those. Those are just some reference points that I put in as I'm trading. So we're going to focus on the blue lines and then the orange lines and just ignore the dotted lines. So to keep things simple, prediction points are what I would call buy above, sell below prices. Now, in the prior video, we talked about if price is below a prediction point, we're going to want to sell it as it comes up to it, just like we have here, right over here. And if it's above it and it comes down to it, either here and or here, we're going to want to buy that. And as alluded to in the prior video, this is how we obtain alpha. But alpha aside, we want to focus on strategy. So I specifically want to talk about buying above and selling below. Simply what that means is that as price approaches one of these levels, if we are below it, like we have at this blue line here, we want to be short. And if we are above it and we approach it, just like we have to the left here and then to the right here, we want to be long. Now, these are orange, and so what we want to do is we want to take profit, potentially liquidate, especially if we have a nice big run like this. We've got 10 points in the bank, and so, maybe that's good. Are we going to run all the way down to the next red line? In this case, they're blue. Probably not. So we want to make sure that we're constantly taking profit. So we'll talk about profit taking and that type of thing in a different video, but in this video, I specifically want to focus on buying above and selling below, or in other words, just being long above prices and short below prices. And so again, what that simply means is that as price is approaching a resistance level, these prices up here tell us that we want to consider taking shorts. Okay, now when price has tested a level over and over again, like it has here, once it has succession to the upside, we want to be long. So we can always test long positions above price if we've run up like this, but we want to be cautious because as we approach below, we want to think about going short. Okay, because once we fall below a line, then the bias is going to be down and vice versa. So we've hit it here and here and here and through here and here and here and here, and then we come back to test it, and then we make a run for it all the way to the next red line, all the way up here. So I want to start on this day because I also want to talk about the sequence or the flow of price. And so what that means is that in the prior video I mentioned we're going to go from one red line. Again, on my charts today, they're blue. So as not to confuse you, I'll call my blue lines blue lines. And again, it doesn't matter what color you color them. It just depends on your color schematics of the screen that you're using, etc. So again, we're going to go from blue line to blue line. We're going to use the orange lines to get there. Okay, so when we advance to the next day, price will feed off of the prior day's movement. So if we're looking to go short up here and we're approaching close, where do we want to get out? Well, we want to get out at whatever new prices we have for the next day's session. Now, depending where those are at and depending on what color they are, if it's going to be a red line, and again, mine are blue, or an orange line, in a lot of ways it doesn't really matter because we want to secure profit. So as this day approaches, we want to be out of our short positions here and or here and definitely here. Now if we have a retest for lower levels, which I did not include because we didn't make it down there, then we can do that. But the flow or the sequence, because it goes from blue line to blue line, we're going to want to look for that. Now, this is not necessarily a unique day, but it's unique in the sense that these blue lines are very close to these prior ones. So this could be an indication that maybe we're going to be done with this, and then this is going to hold as support. So the real tell-all is going to be this orange line right here. If we're really going to go further down, then we're going to have to break through and hold below this price level. Okay, very simple. So where's the next target? The next target is the next blue line, right? So we want to be long anywhere in here. And of course you can test shorts, but you have to remember that if you're short, we have to have this succession. Otherwise you want to take what you can get and or break even. Okay, so on this day, our next blue line wasn't until 3016. And on the day that I'm recording this, we've hit that, but many days later. So the likelihood of us getting there on a big run up is probably unlikely. That's a very large movement. And so what we want to do is we want to focus on the orange lines, on taking profit from our long positions that we got into down here. Okay, we know that we didn't have success or failure on this line because we never hit it. So we're long. If you didn't get long here, you got to get on the breakout. And then we test this. We take profit here, take your 7, 8, or 9 points, depending on where you got in. And, this sits here for a long time. In fact, when the RTH opens, which is right here, we sit there for an hour before we break through. So if this is going to drop, it would have done it already, and we would have had breakdowns from these levels here. So we're looking to get in on a breakout. If we don't have breakdowns, we want to get on a breakout past a price level. So remember, the idea behind this entire video is buy above, sell below. So if we break above, we want to be buying. Where do we take profit? At the next level. Okay, we can test that for short. So if you're short, it runs about 4 points or so, a profitable 4 points. So that, in other words, fillable 4 points. So it goes about 5 tick for tick. But we've got about 4 points we can get filled on. Maybe I'll make this a little bit bigger. Once we get past here, remember, we're in the RTH now. We have not broken through our lows, so we're coming back up here. We want to be long. Okay, buy above, sell below. If you're long and we come down, just reverse, get on the opposite side. But that didn't happen. So where's our next target? Well, our next major target is 3016, but our immediate target is the next orange line at 91. So we take profit there. If you want to scalp, you can scalp. There's your 4 points or so, and then same exact scenario here. We're going to want to be long above price. And sure enough, into the close, we got about, looks like 2 ticks away from that upper level there. And that's the closing candle there, by the way. So quite a bit of profit to be had there, about 13 to 14 points or so. So very simple. And so what happens is we repeat this same process over and over and over again. We look at where are the major targets. So on this day, now we're coming into the overnight session of the 3rd, into actually the 4th, which is a holiday. So probably not going to be a lot of movement. The major target is still, on this day, it was all the way up at 17. So it shifted a little bit. And probably not going to happen. It could happen, but we have this 3003 to deal with, which we've hit, and now we're dropping. Okay, so we test the resistance off of 3003, and our next blue target is, well, we have to go to the next day because then it's going to become. So here's a different view. So here's into the holiday, the 4th of July holiday. And the market's going to be closed, and so we just, ideally you don't trade on days like that where we have a short session. Actually, it's technically no session because the market's not even going to be open. But we have resistance. We dropped 6 or 7 points, and then we came back up. So we don't really have any plays in here other than the short off of this line, which obviously there's profit to be taken there. So then we move into the 4th / the 5th, so the 4th overnight session, and then into the 5th. So we can see our next target. So we're short. We still have that long side potential, but if we're going to trade what the market's actually doing, and we're getting in on a lot of these alpha trades, then we're going to want to target this, the 95. That gives you another 8 points or so. I'm going to stop there because this pattern repeats over and over and over and over again. Bottom line, And just to recap, if we are below a price, we want to be short. If we're above it, we want to be long until we have failure. So ultimately, you decide where you want to get out, but ideally, it's going to be at these levels here because it's going to give you the best entry. It's going to have the most reaction, and oftentimes you're going to see the most volume there. So those of you that trade a lot of volume, or what we would call size, those areas are where you're going to want to be both entering and exiting your positions. And then you're going to look for the longer targets. But that's it. So all of these days just blend into each other, and we just look for the next target, the next target, the next target. Okay, below price, we want to be short. Above price, we want to be long. We come down to a price to test it, we want to be long. Obviously, come up to a price, we want to be short. That is it. We repeat this process day in, day out. So those of you that are doing this, you should be up. There's absolutely no reason for you not to be up multiple, and the market's moving well, several dozen points every day. There's absolutely no reason not to be. Just follow the pattern. If you use other indicators, perfectly fine. Just make sure that they are lining up with what you're doing with these. These should give you incredibly accurate guidance. And if you just keep it that simple, then it just becomes a game of booking profits over and over and over again. If you screw up, it doesn't matter because you have the next prices to look at. So we'll continue this series, more training with prediction points coming soon.